I'm ready.
So why do you think people become engineers?
There's a lot of interesting things out there, and I think people do it out of curiosity to learn new things and explore new things, and um, just a lot of people, myself included, just have want to understand more. So you just do that to learn more as you continue your career.
It's interesting. That's probably like the most in-depth one I've gotten so far. What are like day-to-day tasks and responsibilities that come with the job itself? Like come with your type of field.
You want what am I do now, or when I was doing hands-on engineering? Which would you?
Whenever you were doing engineering yourself.
So I was computer science, and when I was computer science was a lot different than what you think of today, because it was really in the transition from all hardware to actually doing software. So we were, hands-on developing code to make sensors work. So I worked on um, back in the day. I like to say that. When GPS was just starting out. Now it's the day to day, and they were just launching the initial GPS satellites. I was developing software tools so that we can simulate a GPS constellation so we could test our our inertial nav units and how they would work with GPS. Um, and we developed a whole bunch of sensors that worked underwater, and I would develop the software code to actually do all of that. So it was day to day, developing software for new hardware that, we didn't know anything about.
Hmm, It's interesting. What do you think off like the top of your head is like the um the average income for a first year in this career, a fifth year in this career, and a 10th year in this career?
Uh, Probably I don't even know now. I mean, I would say the first year career is probably about 100,000, maybe a little more, 130 when you're about 5 years, and probably about 160, 170 at 10 years.
So you really just start off with like the good amount.
You start out, yeah, it's a well-paying profession. Yeah.
What are like the educational requirements, like bachelor's degrees? Like what's the minimum?
Well, minimum is bachelor's, but I would think when I did it, I just got my bachelor's and then I did a few graduate courses, but I never got my master's. I think these days, getting your master's is really definitely beneficial. I
Yeah.
would recommend not having your master's now.
Not
Um,
recommend or recommend it?
I would recommend having it.
Oh, okay, okay.
I would not recommend going without it. How do you say that?
Yeah.
Double negative, not the right way to say it. So I
Yeah.
definitely recommend that you you have both a bachelor's and a master's.
Yeah. So the maximum is master's, correct?
Yeah, I mean you can get a PhD if you want, but I think that's more theoretical as opposed to in industry. I think a master's is probably all needed if you were going to work in industry.
Yeah. What are like additional benefits that comes with working where you do? Like medical coverage, retirement plans, paid vacations, maybe?
Yeah, get all of that. Um, get um, get the you get a retirement, matching into
401k?
you get health benefits, you get a 401k with matching, the company will match it. There's not a lot of bonuses, but there are small bonuses. Definitely health coverage is something, and it's a pretty stable profession too. So there's always
It's
that
good.
intangible.
Yeah. And if you had to start over again in the same field, what would you do differently? Like if you had to like restart from the beginning of your career, what are things that you would do differently later on as you keep progressing?
Well, I mean, like I said, I didn't get my master's. I would have definitely done that. Um, What would I have done differently? I think, there was, I think I would have explored some other option. I've been in the aerospace industry for most of my career. I think I did spend a little time outside it, but not much. I think I would have done a little more on some of the other areas, because it's a wide computer science and engineering. There's all sorts of different things, small startups to big companies. And I think I would have done a little more of the small innovative stuff instead of just staying with a large aerospace. I think that's the one thing I would have looked to do a little more of.
So you would have wanted to go to like a smaller company where you could have been more useful, kind of.
Yeah, I did once. I went to a small company, but the company was a small startup and it didn't last long. So I
Okay.
kind of, was only there for a little over a year and a half, and then I was right back to where I started.
Yeah. And can you explain how you your approach to problem solving when you're faced with a challenge?
Well, I mean, so you really got to break it down into smaller segments, right? So you're presented a problem and probably a big problem, and you got to kind of go back down to smaller steps and try to get to as we like to say, the root cause of the problem. So if something breaks, it didn't just break, something down below broke. And it's really starting to ask the questions of what could have caused this and why did this happen? And then as you start digging down, you start finding what, as we like to say, is the root cause. And then you can start solving the problem. And, you know, one of the big things we did when we had a problem and someone would ask me, how long would it take to fix it? The answer was about an hour after I figure out what it really is, right?
Yeah, because
So
that's really all you need. Once you find out what it is, it's pretty easy.
the fix is the easy part, but it's finding out what it is. So it's really about breaking it down into to
Yeah.
smaller pieces until you can get to the root cause of the problem.
Yeah, like whenever I have troubles with my computer, I always troubleshoot multiple things like the RAM. Sometimes I take it out, leave it for a little bit, put it back in, maybe unplug the GPU or something like that, and then it works.
So exactly, you're doing the same thing. You're trying to figure out what part of
Yeah,
it fails. So that's
exactly. Yeah.
exactly it.
I built my computer from all the parts, so
Oh, good for you. That's
yeah.
great.
Well, that's all the questions that I needed to ask. So
Well, that was great. I'm very happy to help. And if there's anything else, more than happy.